Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today. Hope you have a good week so far. Hope your Monday was good. And now, if you'd like to join me in Philippians chapter 1, getting in verse 15. As you do that, I ask you to like, share, comment on the post, subscribe, follow, whatever is the proper for the format you're using, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, and then we'll dig in. Paul says, again, remember Paul is writing from captivity, writing from not the grandest of places. It says, "Some indeed preach Christ from envy and rivalry, but others from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, but thinking to afflict me in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed, and in that I rejoice." I must admit, this is a difficult passage for me to wrap my head around for a number of reasons. What Paul is saying, he says that there are some there are plenty of people preaching the gospel. He says some do it out of love to carry on my message, to carry on the ministry and the work that I was doing. The former, he says, the others are preaching Christ out of selfish ambition, that thinking that somehow they will make things worse for Paul. And Paul responds by saying, I don't really care what their reason is, as long as they're preaching Christ and people are coming to know Christ. It's difficult to understand several things. For one, Paul's position. It's amazing to me. It tells us something of the maturity that Paul has, of the relationship with God that Paul is working with, to be able to say, I don't care if what they say hurts me, harms me in any way, as long as the gospel is being proclaimed. And people are coming to know Christ. Whatever they're doing, wherever they're doing it, whatever their motives are, I don't care. Even if it brings some way harm to me. But as long Paul's attitude is mind-boggling. That there will be people who could at the same time preach Jesus and somehow want to see harm come to Paul. It is a little bit a little bit confusing. How can you preach Christ, or certainly how do you preach the whole counsel of God's word while hoping somehow that they were doing something that would keep him from being able to preach the gospel? The only thing that comes to mind would be that they saw Paul as competition in building up their own ministry and their own following, and so they wanted him out of the way. Difficult to imagine somebody with those kinds of motives who is still preaching the gospel. But nonetheless, Paul says, I don't care as long as people are being saved. And our circumstances certainly, or I don't think, I don't know everybody's circumstance who's listening, but probably not like Paul's, where you're imprisoned and in that situation. But we do have adversaries. We have people who would, no matter how hard we try to do what was right and live for the Lord, um, that they would like to see us fall. They enjoy seeing us have seeing you have hardships and trouble, difficulty in your life. Um, we need a great lesson we learned from Paul here. We need to learn from Paul is that we don't get so caught up in what may be happening to us or what people are trying to do to us. We just want to make sure that God is end up being glorified, that God is honored. It's not about us. It's not about our own fame, fortune, glory. It's about Jesus Christ and Him crucified. And so let me encourage you today. Just give you a word of encouragement. You may have enemies. You may have people that are trying to put you down, trying to to make fun of your faith. When you try to witness, they don't believe you. Whatever it may look like, you continue to press on, uh, doing your absolute best to be sure that in all things Christ is glorified. That in every way, Paul, as Paul says here in verse 18, Christ is proclaimed. You live your life and you do your thing in such a way that Christ is honored and glorified. And don't worry, don't focus. God, help us to have that kind of faith. Help us to have that kind of confidence and perseverance that our priority is that in every way the gospel of Jesus Christ is proclaimed. You think about it. Have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.